bon après-midi. Welcome back. I hope you all had a very nice lunch, a little break. And welcome back to this afternoon symposium, of invited symposium. Symposium sur les échanges en ligne et l'apprentissage d'une langue à distance. Symposium on online learning and exchanges. My name is Séror, and I have the pleasure of being the moderator / timekeeper for this presentation. I'll do my best. But I'm very happy to be able to welcome you back to this session, which is going to be all about technology and online exchanges and the impact this has for classrooms and language classrooms in general. We also have, and I think this is particularly proper for such a conference, the participation of someone from the virtual world with us today, Joe Hopkins, which you can't see right now, but you will see him and hear him. Let's cross our fingers. We know he's there and he can hear us, and you'll be able to ask him questions and he'll be able to participate. Donc, très très rapidement, parce que l'autre grand message pour vous, c'est que c'est vraiment c'est fait pour mener à des discussions. Donc, vous allez voir, il y a des présentations assez rapides, un panel très très intéressant avec Aline Germain-Rutherford de Middlebury College, qui est l'organisatrice du symposium, suivi de Michael Power de l'Université Laval, suivi de Joe Hopkins de the Open University en Catalogne, et c'est lui qui est dans le monde virtuel. We then have Ushi Stickler, also from the Open University UK, who will be speaking to us. And at the very end, 5 minutes each will be given to our two invited speakers who have kindly accepted to work as discussants, Carol Chappelle and Elizabeth Murphy. So thank you to everyone for coming, and I wish you will all have a good symposium, and I'll let the organizer of the symposium give you a few words.
Merci beaucoup, Jérémie. Thanks a lot. 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, just to tell you what we're going to speak about. So the theme, as you can see, is online learning and exchanges. Et la façon dont ça va se dérouler, nous allons avoir Michael Power qui va d'abord nous donner une certaine vue d'ensemble, une vue d'ensemble et une vue critique sur les différents modèles et les différentes pratiques en matière de technologie éducative et d'apprentissage en ligne et à distance. Ensuite, on aura 2 exemples beaucoup plus pratiques, en fin de compte, avec, so I'm going to switch in English, with Joe Hopkins, who is in Barcelona, the Open University of Catalonia, who is going to tell us about actually the online courses that he is developing and teaching, and also how through a community of practices the teachers are supporting each other and training each other. Then my own presentation, I'll show a very practical example of what we are developing in terms of online language learning for high school students, not higher education, but high school students in the States. And then we will end with a presentation from Ushi Stickler from Open University in UK, and she's going to tell us about a European project that has been developed for the training of teachers who want to know more about online teaching and learning and technologies about that. So, sans plus tarder, je vais donc laisser la parole à Michael Power.
Well, it's always nice to come to a place where people, wandering bands of students, don't throw rocks at you. Buongiorno. Guten Tag. Bonjour. Tout le monde. Okay, so it'll be in English. I'm a native Quebecer, as you can see. Okay, so I'll be talking about, in the next 15 minutes, a model of sustainable online learning in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been a long time coming. We've done a lot of things in the universities to improve outreach. This is an article that appeared in 2011, and my talk is based on that with Morgan Gould. It's in Ursula International Review of Research in Open and Distance Learning. Ursula, just Google this. Okay, so first of all, I'll be looking at recent developments in educational technology, specifically in online learning, as they apply to language teaching and learning. Secondly, I'll critique existing practices of distance education, online learning, and blended learning, and then I'll introduce a model that we're developing at Laval University, which tries to reconcile quality, accessibility, and cost effectiveness. So, in language studies, usually what happens is you're looking either at language acquisition, the undergraduate level, or linguistics and literature at the graduate level. I'm more focused at that level. The kind of work we're doing really involves using synchronous and asynchronous technology, having small groups. So in graduate studies, we tend to have smaller groups. It's more manageable. If I'm speaking too fast, do let me know. I probably am. My wife always tells me I speak too fast. Okay, the university. Traditional university was once the haven of the elite. Okay, that all changed when we fast forward to the 20th century. After the post-war period, this is when democratization hit, and this is when our numbers went up. For example, 2 problems, too many students, university system too centralized. So what do? You have to find a solution. The quest for sustainability begins. What can we do? How can we cope with this? First, well, you open more universities. That's what we did. Lots of new universities. And then we built satellite campuses. That was one approach. The other approach that I'm interested in is decentralizing by implementing various outreach strategies. So, how sustainable have these strategies been? And this is what we'll look at today. And I did this in another context from an educational standpoint, educational technology standpoint. I now am applying it, starting to apply it, working with Susan Parks, who you may know, at Laval University. So basically, there are 3 parameters here. This is based on John Daniel's work. Accessibility, which is a major priority for students. It even defines their status. Faculty have always been the defenders of quality. That is their job. And then the administrators are there to make sure that we get paid. And a few other things. Keep order. Okay, so students have lots of priorities, but what I'm positing is that their main priority is accessibility. And then with faculty, again, quality, and cost effectiveness being a main priority. Now, what we're saying is that any model that does not take into consideration these 3 parameters will not be sustainable. Okay, so basically it's the key to sustainability. And in many models in the past were either student-driven, administration-driven, very rarely faculty-driven, and that's why we're excited about what we're doing, because it is finally a model which is faculty-driven. Let's look at it. First of all, the very first, look, faculty mobility. Ever since Comenius, ever since people have had sandals and can walk from France and from Germany and to Italy and so on, we've had faculty mobility. Correspondence courses started in England mid-19th century when the penny post came along. Distance education came along thanks to the Open University, 1969, ushering in a new era of online learning, of open learning since the 60s, and of course spawning many, many universities at the time. Video conferencing as a technological response came along in the 70s, that is dual-mode universities that teach on campus and off, developing that competency. Using that technology. And then online learning, of course, with internet, came in 1995. Blended learning started occurring as early as 2000, somewhere around there. Universities, in some cases, ever since we've had computer technology, have been using it to some extent. And what we're talking about is blended online learning, which is a mixture. It's not online learning, it's not blended learning, it's blended online learning. And if you call right now, okay. Now, to what extent has each strategy proven to be sustainable as compared to the status quo? So we're looking at the status quo in the classroom. Can we do better? Have we done better? So accessibility, quality, and cost effectiveness, we're looking at it from, as we were saying, the classroom says. So is it high? Is it higher? Is it the same? Is it lower? Or is it low? Okay. So to what degree has each strategy contributed to language learning? This is what we'll look at today. And I'm saying this is a preliminary analysis. I have an article in press, and I'm working on another one which is focused on language learning. Now, basically what we want are high everywhere. High quality, we want high accessibility, we want high cost effectiveness, ideally. Okay, faculty mobility. That's when it all started, right? Things have gotten a lot easier. We're not wearing out as many sandals as we used to. So basically we're looking at higher accessibility, but it's limited. I mean, yes, I get in my car and I offer a course on another campus. Okay, a little more access. Those students would not have access otherwise. But it's not really sustainable because I don't want to do it for the rest of my life. Same quality if the same professor is offering the course, well, pretty well. And lower cost effectiveness because there are added costs. Okay, we'll go through this quickly. I have a half-hour talk that I'll be squishing into 15 minutes. Language learning, see, this is a frequently implemented outreach strategy simply because usually language learning is done in face-to-face. It's pretty well been the modus operandi for most language courses. Open universities, other licensed universities have attempted language courses online and have done such to quite an extent, especially written language. But so it's mostly a dual mode university strategy. Let me see. Second, correspondence courses ever since the mid-1900s with Rainey Harper at the University of Chicago, University of London. They also achieved higher accessibility, but again, it was still limited. It was not really, it didn't go that far beyond, simply didn't have the numbers. Second of all, based on peer review, based on the academy, based on the reactions, it was considered of lower quality, even a second quality education. Higher education, higher cost effectiveness, yes, but again, very limited because we weren't talking about a lot of students, small numbers. So, as language learning, it was rarely implemented. A lot of these correspondence courses were, first of all, professional in nature, giving students technical skills, perhaps for writing courses, grammar and translation courses. I can think of a few off the top of my mind, but not for language acquisition as we know it. Now, third strategy, distance education, with the coming to the forefront of the UK Open University, the BOU, especially in the G20 countries. Okay, they did achieve accessibility, undeniably. They did achieve much higher accessibility. It actually broke the system of the elitist system in the UK. And but again, is it true? Is it not true? It was considered. It has been considered by peers to be of lower quality, although the BOU is constantly being, when it's being assessed by students, very high levels of satisfaction. So is it higher? Is it lower? If we look at it from the eyes of the academy, very often it's still considered lower. Is that a prejudice? Okay, higher cost effectiveness compared to TUs. Yes, higher cost effectiveness has indeed been achieved. Not a lot, especially if you look at Canada, different countries in G20, where basically if you go to the university, you're going to pay about the same costs. I'd have to ask my colleague here about going to BOU whether it's actually cheaper to enroll at BOU than it would be at a state university in England. Okay. Language learning, it's regularly implemented in outreach strategies, especially using multimedia materials. TELUC, Athabasca offer different kinds of courses, and this is, of course, topped up with on-demand tutoring. The major weakness, of course, for a lot of online courses, first correspondence and now online, is that you don't have a lot of peer-to-peer and support. That is changing slowly, but so long as you have a fixed pace entry system, your students are at different points. So unless you have a cohort approach, and we're seeing that implemented by dual mode universities who are doing that, keeping the cohort approach. Now the fourth strategy, video conferencing, that did not really pan out too well either when it comes to really being the gold standard. Yes, higher accessibility was achieved, but if you had satellite campuses, you still had to go somewhere. So yes, some accessibility. Lower quality, again, because of lack of interactivity. Students on these satellite campuses really felt neglected. And also, there were lots of technical glitches that hampered video conferencing. And higher cost effectiveness, well, yes. If it's the same professor who's teaching a course and then you can offer it to several other campuses, well, yeah, you can. So, but it's not major, especially because there are quite high costs involved in installing this equipment and maintaining it. Now, if we look very quickly at language learning, rarely implemented video conferencing, especially if you're dealing with large numbers. You know, when it comes to language learning, you really have to keep the numbers small if you want to have a quality experience for students. Fifth, online learning. This also, when it comes to language learning, I think was a step backwards, especially in asynchronous mode. In this, you're looking at language learning in the written form. In dual mode universities, it improved a bit. 50% of the courses at Laval are in this mode, what we call forum courses. So we do have higher accessibility, a little lower quality because of student isolation, faculty involvement, higher cost effectiveness despite high front-end design. So you've got a balancing thing there. You do have more front-end design, which is expensive, but overall, you can achieve higher cost effectiveness. Now, let me see. The language learning, rarely implemented. Again, I think it's because of the nature of language learning, and you're the expert, so you tell me about it. I work in engineering, nursing. I go from one field to the next, and I'm just working on a project now in language learning. So for that reason, unless it's for written language courses, creative writing, and the internet abounds in that. Now, blended learning is new kid on the block, partly on campus, partly online. What they call clicks and bricks, 1 week here, 1 week there, or some combination thereof. Lower accessibility. Problem is distance learners are excluded. If you can't come on campus for your blended learning course, well, you're out of luck. Same quality, even a little higher in some cases. That's what's being reported in the literature. Higher cost effectiveness. As a matter of fact, I almost put that in the black because a lot of administrators are realizing that they're making a bundle. University of Calgary, York University, they can double cohorts in some cases. Okay, now, language learning. Yeah, it's being increasingly implemented. Having students work at home, do what they can, then they come into the classroom, the time is more focused. So yeah, blended learning is turning out to probably be a very good strategy for language learning. Now finally, sorry, it went fast there, blended online learning. Now what is it? Well, basically it's very simple. We use a virtual classroom and we have an LMS where we put resources. And everything's completely online. So there's no going back and forth to campus. So the good news is that students from anywhere can enroll. And we use the virtual classroom. We have a working space. We have got camera web. And I also have invited guests every now and then, friends of the family. And they've got a chat button there. And, okay, good fun. Synchronous. So we use Blackboard. We have our own LMS. And that's what it combines. We have an oral tradition combined with the written tradition, which is a very nice, I think. It allows professors to do what they've done for 700 years, is actually teach and also interact with students. Very good at the seminar level, the graduate level, because you have to avoid the lecturing mode, which is online, which is horrible. Okay, so basically this is what we're looking at. No bricks, that's the formula. And there's a bunch of publications on that. You'll learn more about it from my website. What I found interesting is that we have continuity of practice. We've gone from face-to-face through video conferencing, which really didn't pan out. It was very expensive. And now, with the web conferencing, or as they say in French, visioconference, you've really got an interesting continuity. The focus is really on the synchronous process and not on the product. So we're getting away from the distance education university product approach or package approach to distance education, and we're really focusing on process, oral transmission. Okay, so basically 100%. What else? So we're finding we have high accessibility, given prevalent high-speed internet access. Students, especially in Quebec, we're the envy of the world, really. We have very high access speeds, high quality. Students are reporting, and faculty also, especially faculty, are reporting high quality experience, and also high cost effectiveness, high administration flexibility. If they want to start a course, they can. If the numbers aren't there, they can cancel. And it's costing us about $3 to enroll a student per term. So, huge potential as an outreach strategy for language learning to be used with synchronously delivered multimedia materials. Basically, I designed my seminars in this way. We have individual work at the base, and then in the middle, students work together as teams. They prep for class. So individual work, teamwork, and then they come into the classroom and they're ready, and so am I. And so we have a virtual class, a virtual webinar, which lasts 3 hours, which is in real time. I set it in my calendar. I don't have to change a thing. It's a waltzing in the classroom. I waltz into the virtual classroom. And think of English Town, which is great. Native English speaker now. Well, why not speak to a Russian speaker, or Greek, or Arabic, or other languages that aren't taught? I think we're sitting on a gold mine right here, and we could be teaching any language from almost anywhere in the world where we have the competencies, even hiring students, teachers from other areas, other countries. So I think this will eventually, translate into a huge increase in transnational language studies. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to have Joe, who's going to do his presentation. So from the Open University of Barcelona. Joe, do you hear us?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Okay, so it's you.
Over to me? Okay, just a minute. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. It's great to be here with you. I wish I could be there face-to-face, but virtually is the next best thing. Greetings to everyone from Barcelona. I'm glad to be here because it's about, I think, almost 20 degrees Celsius, and I see that it was 2 degrees Celsius there in Toronto. At least I'm warmer here. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about what we do at the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, which is the Open University of Catalonia in terms of language teaching and learning. We're an all-online university, and I am the head of the language program at the university. Oftentimes when I talk to people and they say, where do you work? And I tell them that I work for the university I work for and that we're all online, the question that I often get is, can you really learn languages online at a distance? And I think that, behind that question, people really do understand, even though they're not experts, people understand that teaching languages at a distance is a huge challenge. And that we're very far from, at this point, knowing the answers to all the questions and can you really learn languages at a distance. There's all sorts of issues that I think even non-teachers, non-experts understand. There's motivational issues, there are issues of isolation, and I think maybe one of the biggest questions of all is how do you do speaking? Anyway, I'm going to show you a few things that we do in our program to give you just a little bit of an idea of how we try to implement a task-based language learning and teaching approach in our courses in an online course, which is quite a challenge. And as Michael was saying before, many programs do not have the peer-to-peer exchange. Many online programs or distance language learning programs don't have peer-to-peer exchanges, and this is something that we're working to try to bridge and to try to encourage by fostering a sense of community within our classrooms. Right? I'm going to show you some of the things that we do, and by no means are these the answers to everything. We still have a long way to go in providing the highest quality possible of language learning online. But anyway, just a minute. There we go. Just a little background to our university. We were founded in 1995 at the onset of the internet. It was started in 1995, and the decision was to create a distance learning institution, and the decision then was to go all online, which was quite a bold decision at the time. Anyway, we have undergraduate degrees, master's programs, and also a PhD program. Now, in terms of languages, we've taught English and French just about from the outset of the university, both languages. But up until 2008, these courses focus mostly on reading and writing skills and a little bit of listening comprehension. As Michael was saying before, mostly the asynchronous type things that you can do online. Now, with the university reform of the universities that is happening all over Europe right now in what's called the Bologna process or the European space of higher education, in 2008, we began to reform our university degrees. And our university decided that across the board, for all programs, for all degrees, there were 2 cross-curricular competencies that would be required for undergraduate students. Those were digital literacy and competency in a foreign language. By competency, we mean attaining a level B2 in the Common European Framework, more or less an upper intermediate level. And at this time, students can do that at our university or French. Okay? At this time also in 2008, in the languages program, we decided that it was time to move away from courses that focused only on reading and writing and to expand to oral skills and also collaboration, right? The two things, right? Now, just to give you some of the numbers that we have, to give you an idea of how many students we're dealing with, we currently have a total enrollment of about 7,500 students studying languages with us. The vast majority of them are studying English, right? And the vast majority of the students who are studying with us, I'm sorry, not the vast majority, but a little over half of our students are studying English or French in order to complete their degree requirements, right? We've got 189 virtual classrooms, and we currently have 143 online teachers that are working for us, okay? Now, when students sign up for a course with us, they are assigned a virtual classroom. We have a purpose-built virtual campus that has classrooms that are very similar to a Moodle classroom, right? But they're embedded within our virtual university campus, right? The classrooms look like this. On the left, you have the communication spaces, a notice board, forum, etc. On the right, students have access to a calendar, and these calendars are linked to the various learning activities that they will do throughout the term. I should mention the classes are fairly large. They have up to 50 students per classroom in them. Okay? Moving on. Now, our learning activities, what do students do when they study with us? They go through a system of what we call continuous assessment activities, right? These continuous assessment activities have various parts to them, which I'll show you in a minute. One is the learning materials, the online materials, right? When students start one of our continuous assessment activities, which normally last between 10 days to 2 weeks, they begin by studying the online materials, right? They do this on their own, and these materials are self-correcting. Here's an example on the screen of some materials for one of the English courses. Okay. Then, after they have studied the materials, they are required to participate in various production tasks, right? These are written production tasks or oral production tasks, right? For written production, that could be, they might have to participate in a forum discussion in our asynchronous online forum. They may need to participate in a collaborative writing task. We use wiki spaces, which we have integrated into our campus for that. For oral production, the Common European Framework makes a distinction between oral expression, which is more or less monologue, and oral interaction, which is basically conversation. For oral expression, we use a video-audio blog called Langblog. That is something that we've developed at our university. And for oral interaction, we have the students go outside of the campus and they use Skype, right? For the oral interaction sections, given the student numbers that we have, given also the fact that the research seems to show that most of the online video conferencing or audio conferencing sessions that are led by teachers tend to be dominated by the teachers, and also given our class sizes, we have developed autonomous speaking tasks. Right? For these, the students are given a very structured speaking activity to do. They agree with partners, there are two or three other partners that they have, to go on Skype and do the speaking activity together. They use a recorder, and they record themselves, and they send the recording back to their teacher, back to the classroom. Other students can also listen to this, and they also, this is also accessible to the teacher, and the teacher gives them a mark for these, and also gives them feedback on what they've done for the activity. Right? So in other words, the oral interaction portion of our courses is done without the teacher being there present in real time. The teacher's intervention is deferred. to a later date. Students record themselves, and the teacher listens and gives them feedback. Okay? Now, in terms of a given semester, here's an example of the learning activities that students would be doing. Right? They have a combination of individual, whole class, and small group activities. Right? The individual tasks are self-study of online materials. Something's happened to the format of my PowerPoint here, but that's what it should say there. They also do reading comprehension exercises. These are individual, right? And they do them on their own. Now, in terms of whole class activities, there are forum discussions for these. I've got 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Right? Forum discussions where they are encouraged to, they post their opinions, their comments about various issues, and they must interact with other members of the class. Langlog recordings, this is the audio-video conferencing platform, the audio-video blog that they use. They post their recordings, and they must interact with the other students on this as well. For small group, they form small groups out of the classroom. They use the wiki for that, and they use Skype for the group speaking, as I said before. Right? This is the sequence here. These boxes here, which are supposed to be check marks, indicate what types of activities are done for the various phases of the course. We always start off with a warm-up activity. Right? In the warm-up activity, students participate or they interact with one another in the forum discussion, and they also do use the line blog for the recordings. Right? For CA1, the Continuous Assessment Activity 1, they do this as a whole class again. It says CA1 plus group, but that should say plus group formation. Right? In this activity, they work as a whole class, not in their groups. And then at the end of it, as they have become familiar with the other members of the class, they form groups with 2 or 3 other people for the rest of the course. Right? And in CA2, CA3, and CA4, that's when they have to coordinate with other members of the classroom or in their small groups to do group writings and group speakings as well. Okay? We don't throw off the deep end into small group work until we get to the second activity, until the students have become fairly familiar with one another. They've become acquainted with one another in the classroom. Okay? All right, the teacher's role is crucial in fostering the interaction and fostering the community, the sense of community within the course. They guide the students through the learning activities, they encourage participation, they moderate the whole class activities in the forum or in the line blog. They're required to show frequent presence in the virtual classroom. Teachers are required to be in the classroom once every 48 hours. They are required to manage the group work activities. That takes up a lot of their time. They also assess the students' work and provide the learners with feedback. All right? Now, what is the volume of the participation of the students? As you can see, thank you very much. As you can see, there's quite a bit of posts, quite a bit of activity in our classrooms. These data are from 16 classrooms from last term that were looked at, and we looked at the total number of posts in the forum and total number of posts in the line blog. Right? The average number of posts was almost 1,000 in the forum per classroom, and 468 for the line blog. This gives you an indication of how much interaction is going on in the classrooms. Now let me jump ahead here. Students' opinion of group work. So what do they think about this? The majority agrees that they enjoyed working in groups, right, based on the feedback that we have received from them. About 63% of the students said that they enjoyed the group work. However, almost 17 said were indifferent about the group work, and about 18% they were not happy with having to do group work. Okay? Let me just jump up ahead here and go over, based on our experience, the key factors that we have determined in creating online communities. Right? These have to do with course design, task design, and as part of task design, one of the keys we have found in getting students to participate and to interact with one another is to require students or to assess students' participation in these various online activities. All of our online activities, except for the self-study of the online materials, is assessed. Right? And therefore, students do participate quite a bit because they're doing it for a grade. Key also is teacher training, learner training, telling the students why they are doing certain things, why they are interacting with one another. Feedback on the course and task design for both teachers and learners is key in improving what we're doing with our tasks online. And a very key element also is educating university administration about the specific needs of language learners. We've found this to be very, very important. At our university, which is based on a mostly asynchronous model and mostly a written model of discussion forums, and that's about it in the other courses, we have had to argue the case that we need audio, we need video, we need an element of synchronicity in our courses because our students are learning languages, and language learning is different from many of the other subject areas at the university. Also key is the selection of online tools. In our experience, based on the fact that we have a big volume of students, one of the key issues is integrating our online tools in our virtual campus. When we have students go outside, it causes problems because they have to remember a different username and a password. They have to download the software. This is a current situation with our interactive speaking activities on Skype. They have to use outside programs. We're working on this. Time out? Okay, just let me say one more minute to just give you some information about the Speak Apps project. My colleague, Christine Apple, is working to solve part of the problem that we have with the speaking, which is not having tools which are integrated in our LMS. Right? The Speak Apps project is funded by the European Commission, and this project aims to provide an audio-video log to the outside world, a video chat facility for small groups to do speaking activities online, and a tandem tool, which is a content managing tool in order to provide students with speaking activities on their screen that they can do with one another autonomously without the teacher present in the video chat platform. Right? All of this will be available in the Speak Apps platform, which will include activities and these tools for people to be able to use. And if you're interested in this, the website is here at the top of the page. Right? Thank you very much. I know I've gone a little bit over time. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll be around later to take them. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Joe. And because we're running a bit late, I mean, you can keep all your questions for the end. Okay, great. So let's go on. And so we're going with me. And j'ai fait mes diapositives en anglais, comme ça je vais pouvoir parler en français. Joe, you have to close your presentation so that you can see the next presentations. You've done it? You just did it. You're good. Okay.
I did it. Okay.
Moi, je vais vous parler d'un projet qu'on a développé depuis maintenant à Middlebury College. Je suis maintenant à Middlebury College. J'étais avant à l'Université d'Ottawa. Middlebury College, depuis des années, depuis 1915, enseigne des cours dans différentes disciplines, mais c'était aussi un petit peu spécialisé dans les langues. Et enseignait les langues d'une façon un petit peu particulière par rapport à d'autres universités. On appelait ça un enseignement immersif, une immersion, mais une immersion très particulière, pas du tout comme au Canada. une immersion, je ne voudrais pas dire simulée, mais à la limite c'est ça, puisque on recrée l'été sur le campus, un campus complètement en langue, où les gens ne parlent que ces langues, puisqu'il y a 10 langues enseignées à Middlebury College. Alors au départ, ça avait commencé pour des enseignants de langue, et c'était donner la possibilité à ces enseignants de langue de se remettre à niveau, au niveau de la langue, tout en passant un diplôme, une maîtrise en enseignement, etc. Et puis après, ça s'est ouvert pour énormément d'apprenants, des professionnels, des étudiants sous-gradés qui veulent apprendre les langues, etc. Et puis en 2008, on a aussi commencdonc à ouvrir des campus, parce qu'on n'est pas que sur Middlebury, mais pour les plus jeunes. Et donc pour les lycéens, donc ça va de middle school à high school, etc. Mais toujours dans le même principe d'immersion, c'est-à-dire que sur un campus, on a des classes, bien sûr, donc des classes de langue, mais aussi des classes de contenu dans la langue, mais les étudiants adultes, ou alors dans les autres campus plus enfants, font aussi plein d'activités. On amène des artistes, on amène des chanteurs, des metteurs en scène, des acteurs, des écrivains, et tous ces gens-là, en langue, travaillent avec les étudiants qui développent des tas de choses en langue. Donc ils apprennent la langue dans une classe, dans un labo, mais aussi dans toutes ces activités qui se passent. Et puis les professeurs qui viennent avec leur famille. Les professeurs ne sont pas de Middlebury. Les professeurs viennent du monde entier de cette langue et ils viennent avec leur famille. Donc ils viennent avec leurs époux, leurs épouses, les enfants. C'est-à-dire que les étudiants ont une interaction quotidienne avec ces gens d'une culture, d'une langue, etc. Donc tout ça fait qu'on recrée un microcosme linguistique et culturel. Donc ça c'est particulier, ça c'est fou à vivre. Moi je l'ai fait pendant des années, c'est assez exceptionnel je dois dire, mais c'est bizarre comme expérience. Mais ça marche, parce qu'après 7 semaines, des étudiants débutants partent en ayant des discussions assez profondes en langue. Enfin donc voilà. Et alors on s'est dit comment recréer cette immersion en ligne, puisque les choses évoluent. Aux États-Unis, dans les lycées, il y a des questions budgétaires qui font que les cours de langue diminuent. Or, les parents, les enfants veulent continuer à apprendre, mais c'est moins facile parce que les budgets sont plus petits et donc les maths c'est plus important. Et donc, dans certaines écoles, la langue n'est pas prioritaire. Donc, on a décidé d'essayer de développer des cours en ligne pour permettre à certaines écoles donc de quand même offrir les langues, des langues, mais à partir de ces cours en ligne. Mais comme Middlebury a sa réputation d'immersion, il fallait garder cette approche. Donc le gros problème qu'on s'est posé, mais c'est comment recréer cette immersion réelle du vécu et comment l'amener en ligne. Donc on a pris évidemment certains principes pédagogiques de l'immersion. Là je reprends le modèle de Cummins sur l'immersion canadienne, mais bon on prend. Donc focus on meaning, c'est sûr que les échanges, etc., ne se font pas uniquement par rapport à la langue structure, mais ce sont des échanges de signification. On fait des choses ensemble, on a des tâches à faire ensemble. Il y a quand même quelque part un focus on language, quand même, on s'arrête, on pose, on réfléchit, on observe la structure, etc. Et puis, il y a, évidemment, tout est basé sur l'utilisation de la langue. Et donc, à partir de ce modèle, mais aussi à partir des différents principes que l'on connaît bien en second language acquisition, je suis désolée, c'est une mixture de français et d'anglais. Mais donc, à partir de principes qui ont été bien recherchés, qui ont bien été montrés en second language acquisition, on a essayé de prendre ces principes et de voir comment les prendre, comment les amener, donc s'en servir comme une sorte de cadre théorique dans le développement des cours en ligne pour ces étudiants, ces lycéens, etc. Et aussi, puisqu'on est aux États-Unis, Tiens, où c'est ? Puisqu'on est aux États-Unis, il y a évidemment comment dire, l'alignement avec les standards nationaux d'actuels qui sont demandés dans les programmes de lycée aux États-Unis. Et donc, il a fallu aussi évidemment que l'on crée nos cours en ligne à partir de ces standards. Et donc, ce que l'on a fait, c'est que l'on a essayé de créer un environnement en ligne avec trois focus, trois éléments. Un premier élément donc, qui est ces cours en ligne que nous développons et que je vais vous montrer un petit peu. Étant donné que l'on veut garder ces jeunes le plus longtemps possible immergés dans cette langue pour qu'ils fassent des choses, on a aussi créé un espace virtuel en 3D où les étudiants, je vous montre un petit extrait où les étudiants, ce sont des lycéens, hein, les étudiants jouent à des choses parce qu'on veut les garder le plus possible, le plus longtemps possible dans la tâche, mais en langue. Et puis, un espace collaboratif où, justement, les étudiants peuvent, pour développer leur projet, collaborer, interagir entre eux, etc. Et le but, parce que là, on est toujours en train de développer cet espace, c'est le plus compliqué à faire, aussi les faire interagir avec des étudiants natifs des pays de cette langue. Okay. Donc voilà. Alors, à partir de ces principes et de ces trois espaces, un des principes importants, puisque c'est l'immersion, sur le campus, c'est facile, on amène tous ces gens, par exemple pour l'école française que je dirige aussi, j'amène des gens des quatre coins du monde francophone. J'ai des professeurs qui viennent d'Afrique, qui viennent de Martinique, de Guadeloupe, de France, de Québec. C'est facile de les amener, enfin c'est facile, oui, on les amène, ils viennent avec leur famille, et donc là on a le bain linguistique qui est là. Comment est-ce qu'on fait en ligne ? Alors nous sommes partis dans le monde, nous sommes partis et nous avons été prendre des vidéos un petit peu partout. Alors on développe en français, en espagnol et en chinois. Alors pour le cours français, nous sommes partis à Paris, en Provence, on est allé aussi au Sénégal, à Dakar, nous sommes allés en Guadeloupe aussi, nous sommes allés à Montréal. Et donc nous avons pris énormément de vidéos. Mais comme c'est un cours de langue, on ne peut pas prendre n'importe quoi en vidéo. Et on ne peut pas simplement interviewer des gens, parce que sinon on a simplement un seul aspect de communication. Or, c'est quand même un cours de langue, okay. Langue et culture très importantes, complètement associées. Donc il fallait avoir des situations de communication très différentes. Donc ce qu'on a fait, c'est qu'on a planté dans des situations de communication des gens que nous connaissions bien, des gens qui sont des acteurs et qui improvisent, etc., avec des personnes réelles. Et c'est-à-dire qu'on se retrouve, par exemple, dans une famille, on a un repas de famille, on a 2-3 personnes, et on a dit à ces 2-3 personnes, voilà le genre de vocabulaire qu'on aimerait sortir. Voilà le genre d'aspect culturel qu'on aimerait sortir. Ils sont plantés au milieu de cette famille que l'on connaît aussi. Je veux dire, on ne rentre pas de force chez les gens. Okay, mais c'est ce qui veut dire que les conversations qu'on a autour de la table sont des conversations absolument authentiques. Rien n'est scripté. Mais parce qu'on a planté certaines personnes dans la situation, on sait que la situation va se dérouler selon le projet que l'on a pour les objectifs d'apprentissage spécifiques que l'on a. Et on a fait ça dans plein de situations. Donc dans des familles, dans des magasins, on va acheter des choses, dans des écoles, et ce qui nous a permis d'avoir une richesse de documents vidéo, mais des documents vidéo très communicatifs. Je vois que Matt ferme les yeux, il dort. Complètement. Bon, je l'ai réveillé, ça y est. 5 minutes. Et donc, ce qui nous a permis à partir de là de développer... Mes étudiants ne peuvent pas dormir. Ce qui nous a permis de développer des tas d'activités, toujours ancrées sur des documents authentiques, Donc, par exemple, on utilise aussi des sites web sur l'INSEE, par exemple. On a obtenu des droits pour utiliser aussi les bandes dessinées. Donc, culturellement, on essaye de remettre les étudiants vraiment dans une certaine culture, mais de développer des activités qui sont toujours ancrées sur cette utilisation du document authentique. Alors, il est vrai que les activités peuvent être un petit peu déroutantes pour certains étudiants, certains professeurs d'ailleurs au départ, parce que dès les débutants, on travaille vraiment avec de l'authentique. Ce qui veut dire qu'on ne va pas chercher une compréhension chez les débutants, mais on développe leur oreille pour identifier certains éléments. On parle de ces islands of understanding. On développe aussi beaucoup les stratégies d'apprentissage chez les étudiants. Donc nos activités ne sont pas que des activités de langue. Il y a aussi beaucoup d'activités réflexives où les étudiants vont auto-évaluer ce qu'ils font, vont analyser leur stratégie d'apprentissage, mais autour toujours de ces documents, et on essaie d'avoir des perspectives interculturelles. Là, on a donc des jeunes de différentes parties de la francophonie et qui discutent de leur système scolaire dans les différents endroits, et même aussi des francophones qui sont aux États-Unis. On a aussi cette perspective. Donc, des activités qui permettent de développer ces perspectives interculturelles. On essaye aussi d'avoir le plus possible des activités basées sur la tâche, donc de créer par exemple ici on est chez un vrai médecin, c'est un vrai médecin, mais on a planté cette personne et qui, évidemment il a bien accepté, mais c'est les premiers interviews qu'on a chez le médecin. Et donc l'étudiant regarde cette vidéo, prend la place du médecin, et en fin de compte, la fiche que le médecin va remplir sur son ordinateur, ça va être cette fiche-là que l'étudiant va remplir. Donc, toutes les activités que l'on fait, on essaie de les associer à des tâches réelles que l'on fait dans la vie réelle. Ici, on est à Montréal, ici, on est à Dakar, enfin bref, voilà. Et puis, on a aussi des projets. Donc, les étudiants apprennent aussi par projet, donc peuvent collaborer par projet. On utilise pour ça différents logiciels, des logiciels qui permettent de créer des bandes dessinées. Encore une fois, on est avec des étudiants de lycée, ok, donc ensemble, ils vont créer des bandes dessinées. On utilise VoiceThread, où ils développent aussi des projets avec VoiceThread. Mais donc ça, c'est pour la partie un petit peu plus collaborative. On essaye de les amener, donc on a beaucoup d'importance sur tout ce qui est l'auto-évaluation, parce qu'on veut que les étudiants soient de plus en plus conscients de leur apprentissage, mais donc on a toute une sorte d'approche de l'évaluation qui est très complexe. Ici, c'est par rapport à tout ce qui est développé, justement, une conscience métacognitive de plus en plus importante chez nos étudiants, donc ils réfléchissent sur leur stratégie d'écoute, etc. Et alors, on a aussi donc développé ce monde 3D. Alors, pour le développer, les personnes qui ont fait le design, c'est-à-dire l'image, etc., se sont inspirées donc de villages, là c'est pour le français, de villages de la France, on a la même chose pour un village espagnol, etc. Donc les étudiants prennent un avatar, peuvent lui donner des apparences différentes, etc. Ont différents jeux qu'ils peuvent jouer dans le monde 3D. Là, c'est un tout petit extrait du monde 3D pour que vous ayez un petit peu le sentiment. Mais l'idée, ça, on n'a pas le son, mais c'est pas grave. L'idée, c'est que l'étudiant va pouvoir, dans ce monde 3D aussi, donc qui ressemble un petit peu à un village du sud de la France, il va interagir avec d'autres personnages qui font partie du jeu 3D, et il va y avoir des choses à chercher, des petites quests à faire. Et, à un moment donné, il va aller dans un café, il va prendre le rôle de la serveuse, et va devoir servir les gens. Mais donc, c'était pour garder les étudiants un petit peu plus longtemps, donc dans cette immersion de la langue, et un espace collaboratif. Mais cet espace collaboratif, on l'a développé, mais il est le plus compliqué à faire parce qu'on a fait allusion à ça hier à un moment donné. On est au niveau des lycées. Et donc, il y a toute une question de sécurité il est très difficile, en fin de compte, de créer des communautés d'étudiants parce que les conseils scolaires veulent être sûrs que toutes les personnes qui interagissent dans ces communautés soient des personnes, évidemment, sûres. Donc, soit ça se passe intra, au niveau de l'école elle-même, et c'est super sécurisé. Et ce qui nous empêche pour le moment, parce que le but c'est vraiment ça, de faire venir des étudiants donc, du monde francophone, par exemple, je suis time out et je termine. Donc, difficile de faire venir nos étudiants francophones pour qu'ils puissent créer des projets avec nos étudiants. Mais on continue dans cette direction. Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait? Je ne sais pas ce que je fais. Voilà, j'ai toujours trop vite. Simplement pour dire. La dernière chose, c'est que les profs, on a créé une communauté d'apprentissage de pratique pour les professeurs. Depuis le 2 mars, on a déjà 79 participants, les profs qui commencent à utiliser ce cours pour qu'ils puissent échanger leurs idées, etc., pour que l'on puisse continuer à mieux développer les choses. Voilà, j'ai terminé.
So after this tour de force, I'll switch back to English. Slow down a little bit now from Aline. As I've been introduced, I'm Ursula Stickler from the Open University in the UK, which is different to the Open University of Catalonia, by the way. It's not the same institution in two different countries, it's two totally different institutions. But I'm not going to talk today about open and distance teaching so much, also I'm happy to answer questions about that later on. I want to talk about 2 projects that Aline and myself and Joe as well were involved in and are involved in. And the first of those projects is developing teaching skills, or DOTS for short. And the second one is called More Dots, because it's the continuation of the DOTS project. These projects are funded by the European Centre for Modern Languages, which is based in Graz, and it's also part of the Council of Europe. It's an institution of the Council of Europe. It's linked to the Language Policy Division, and it's not an EU institution, so it goes beyond the European Union. It's got, I think, currently 38 member states, and it supports teams of experts in creating new and innovative language teaching materials, ideas, guidelines, and so on. And one of the probably most famous products of the ECML project is the Common European Frame of Reference, which I've heard some of you refer to. So it's guidelines for standard levels of language competency across European languages, and which is being extended now as well beyond European languages to Chinese and other languages as well. Linked to that, one of the products is also a language portfolio used by students, by teachers, by pupils in different stages. So the ECML creates medium-term projects, so they invite bid for different projects. Medium-term means 4 years, 2 to 4 year project duration, and one of those call for proposals was empowering language professionals. It was aimed at helping language teachers, but also language translators, other people who work in the language professions, to create networks to support their work. DOTS, a team of experts in language teaching, has applied for the DOTS projects first in 2007 and was granted this project from 2008 to 2011. And it, as I said, it's aimed at online teaching skills, and the product we proposed to create was a Moodle workspace and an offline version of the activities as well. The new program of the ECML started this year is learning through languages, so it's devoted to the use of languages not just as taught subjects in schools, but also, for example, as in the CLIL approach, as teaching through a different language. And the follow-up projects to DOTS, the More Dots project, is devoted to that area as well. Now the DOTS team, to show you, you will recognize at least 3 people in the groups here. The DOTS project team, it was 7 people from 5 different countries in Europe. And that's Joe typing something. Message from Joe. He's left the conference. Okay, I could hear him in the background. Okay, so originally it's 7 people from 5 different countries, and then we were given a gift from the Canadian government, which is Aline, who joins the team. So, type a little bit silent. So you can recognize Joe here, Aline, of course. Okay. Can you turn off his microphone? So 3 of the team members were from the Open University in the UK. That's my colleagues Dieter Bevan and Regina Hampel and myself. And we have, of course, we've come with a background of open and distance education, so we know how to write materials for people who are not present in the same class and to do training materials, for example. Then there's 2 colleagues from the Open University in Catalonia, Joe Hopkins, who you've seen before, and Pauline Ernest. Mateusz from the University of Zagreb in Croatia, and Martina Enke, who originally worked in the Volkshochschule in Germany, so in an adult education institution. And the developing online teaching skills, the project was originally the idea was to develop materials to support language teachers who want to use ICT in their teaching. And specifically we were aimed, you can't hear anything. Okay. Okay, fine. We'll just try both of them. Okay, so our the goal of the DOS project was to provide materials for language teachers who want to use ICT in their teaching, and particularly we were aiming towards teachers who are part-time or casually employed teachers, because particularly Martina and some others in our group had expertise in this working with tutors or teachers who only work for several hours for 1 course or 2 courses in an institution, and therefore don't get that amount of training or continuous staff development that fully employed language teachers get. It's also, so we realized, most of us, we realized that there are certain problems for this type of teachers. One of them is time, so you need to fit your training into your private time most of the time. The other one is actually the quality of training that you can get. Sometimes the institution demands that you do a certain course of training. Sometimes they don't ask for any training or continuous staff development at all. And the third problem that these teachers face is an ongoing support. So once they started using technology in class, where do they get the help if they run into problems? And we tried to deal with these challenges in the DOTS project. So what we try to do is enable language teachers to develop their online teaching skills independently, so independent of the okay. So we've been trying to enable the language teachers to work independently with the materials that we provide, which copes with the issue of time, so they can actually fit it into the normal life. They don't have to be online or at a certain place at the same time. We also try to empower teachers to use the existing pedagogical expertise to develop relevant technological skills. So we acknowledge that they are already experts in one area, in the area of language teaching, and need to develop skills specifically for the online teaching or for moving online with their language expertise. We also try to provide equal access to online training materials. Challenging, isn't it? Never mind, I'll just carry on talking. One of the aims of the ECML is to provide equal access to people across the member states. To do that, giving access through a Moodle workspace, for example, to an internet access is an easy way of supplying people with materials for self-training, and also for those people who live in countries where internet access might not be so easy, we've provided an offline version on data stick so people can use it, even print off materials if they want to. And the third part, the third challenge, the ongoing support, we try to cope with that by encouraging reflection, encouraging reflective learning on the pedagogical aspects, particularly of the teaching and language and learning. I'm trying to find mine again. That one, yeah? No. Here we are. So the aim was here to encourage those teachers to support each other, to form an online community of practice, so they can actually call for help if they need to find somebody who's a little bit more expert and who knows to cope with pedagogical challenges. Not so much with, it's not a technical help desk at all, that's not the idea, but it's more the pedagogical question: why would I use a certain tool in my teaching, and how would I use it, and how do your students react if you introduce a new tool, for example. Okay. Nope. Not this one, the other one. This one, yeah. Oh, it works like that. It's okay. We just ignore the things in the
Okay,
on the side. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. So the structure of the of our DOTS project was. I don't believe in maths. Okay, the structure of the DOTS project was like all the ECML projects. We work as a team of experts, we create some materials, and then we have workshops where we disseminate these materials to participants from all over the ECML countries, so up to 41 at that time, and then we go back, redesign, change our materials, and try it out again. So the first workshop we did was a needs and workshop. We asked our participants prior to the actual meeting in Graz to fill in an online survey in SurveyMonkey and tell us what they need in tools, in the form of tools, what they like to do in the language classes, what they would need training for. And then in the actual workshop we discussed with participants the tool selection and what kind of training would be most suitable for part-time teachers for this flexible approach that we were aiming for. Group of the first workshop in Graz in December 2008, and I must say all of our workshops were oversubscribed, so we normally had a group of 40 people, and there's a need for this kind of training for the teachers, language teachers in all of Europe. And some of them were really total novices in terms of online teaching, pretty much novices in use of ICT for language teaching, but some were actually great experts and helped us a lot in designing our own materials then. For the second workshop, which took place in Barcelona and was a regional workshop, we specifically invited experts, people who had done online teaching before and had created activities for online training. Some were teacher trainers and so on. So we could actually call on this pool of experts to help us try out different versions of our activities that we had designed. So the activities are bite-sized, which means they should be done in about 30 minutes time, and they are self-explanatory, so they're self-training activities. The third workshop is when we presented the whole site, the whole Moodle workspace, and gave participants the task to evaluate what they found, to evaluate the arrangement of the activities, but also specifically on the activities, what they found useful and what they didn't find useful. Give feedback, and they also created a lot of input to stories of how they use different tools in language teaching and how they would use the Moodle workspace. So this is just a quick overview, and I haven't got much time to go into detail of that, but this is the following tools that we selected for activities, and all of the activities have the same structure. They've got, every part is about a 30-minute training entity, and it could be done on its own. Part one, normally what is this tool and why would I want to use it in my classroom? That's for total novices, for people who haven't used the tool or don't know anything about the tool before. Part two is more for those people who have some idea but have never used, for example, YouTube or Moodle quizzes in the language teaching, but they have come across it in a different context. So the guide through basic features, but very much focus on the pedagogical considerations. It also gives them a sample task that they can just extract and use in their classes or adapt to their own needs. And there's also practical suggestions in part two. Part three then, and that's something we value very much, is this reflective part of the cycle of self-training, where you check your own understanding, you check that you have actually taken in things from part one and part two that you didn't know before, that you're reflecting on what is useful for your own teaching and what isn't, and in further step go online and explore and share with other people in a forum or in wikis what you've done with the tools, create your own activities and upload them onto our wiki. All these activities are integrated in the Moodle workspace, and this is a quick overview of what the Moodle workspace looks like. And I think I forgot to mention that it is based on the principles of the ECML. It is, of course, bilingual, but German and English, and not French and English. I couldn't come up with the French translations of that, but we did translate most of the activities into German. Some are translated into Spanish, and some will be translated into Catalan, Chinese, Polish and Croatian. So it's just languages we have at our disposal, and we can provide different language versions for that. This is one of the activities in more detail. And you can see there's HTML versions for people who work online. There's also a downloadable version where people print it off and maybe just want to take it away and see whether they can integrate this kind of activity into their own teacher training or for preparing to practice it online as well if you want to have it in print. And this is one of the videos. Jo, who's actually giving us her ideas on how to use audio conferencing in classes. Now, moving on quickly to more dots. After doing the first 4 years, we felt that we still had some more work to do in disseminating what we've created and also widening the users. So the More Dots project, officially it's called Using Open Resources to Develop Online Teaching Skills, and it's coordinated by Mateusz in Croatia. And it will be providing integrated pedagogical and technological resources to practitioners involved in language teaching, but in traditional and also non-traditional settings. So we're aiming to provide materials and activities, training activities for people who are volunteer language teachers who don't have the pedagogic background, who don't have proper training as language teachers, but who would benefit from this kind of self-training. So the aims of the More Dots are to widen the use of non-specialist language teachers, what we call language mediators, because they can be in lots of different contexts, non-formal and informal teaching and learning. and to establish a network of language teachers with different levels of expertise, so to sort of support this online community of practice where people can help each other with the different levels of expertise. And also to enable teachers to promote the use of media and technology amongst the students during and after the formal language courses. So not just stop there when you've got your language course done and you're happy that you've managed to do the YouTube activity in class, but also encourage the students to then, after the language course, go out and use YouTube for self-training and for keeping up the language skills. There's also a new development in the ECML that has actually asked, the institutions have asked the ECML to provide targeted support, so to send experts to the countries and bring workshops to the different member states and disseminate, for example, the activities that have been done in DOTS. Do I have 1 more minute just to show, just to show the website? This is the Moodle website, and if you can remember it, it's actually quite an easy URL to remember. It's called moodle.dots.ecml.at. So that's the, you can enroll into the course. Like with all the Moodle courses, all you need is a valid email address, and then you will be sent a password. It's self-enrollment, so you can enroll with an email. The first thing that participants see when they go online into the space is the welcome, and there are some guidelines of people who are there for the first time, and some news items as well. And then you have the 10 different tools with different parts of activities here. Okay, that's it from me.
Technical issues. As a friend of mine used to say, live by technology, die by technology. But I think she handled that quite well. And thanks also to Joe for being patient on that as we were going through. I just wanted just a few words to say thanks to all the speakers. I think it's a very interesting session, going from a very realistic and balanced presentation of the importance of taking into consideration all the stakeholders. I'm going to raise this because I'm vertically challenged. A nice balance, and I think the importance of paying attention to everybody who's involved in creating these kinds of exchanges and making sure that they work and what happens. Have that balance. To some very nice examples from Joe and Aline of what these things can actually look like, what they're looking like right now, going from the completely virtual university to the completely virtual immersive environments. Et bien sûr avec aussi la présentation de ce qui a lieu, ce qui doit avoir lieu en arrière-scène pour s'assurer que cette technologie et que ces connaissances puissent justement être mis dans les mains des enseignants. Et un travail fantastique. Je pense que vous risquez de recevoir beaucoup de courriels. You're probably going to get a lot of emails from people looking for that Moodle address again, because I'm not quite sure it was that easy to remember. But there are platforms here.